night may be long and the dark may be deep, but the answers are there to be found. Whether it's the normal, the abnormal, or the paranormal, you're in the right place. Let's go beyond reality.
Well, welcome to the show. We've got Kayla Ambrose joining us in just a little bit. She's a modern muse and a wisdom teacher, plus many, many other things. So we'll have a lot to talk to her about, and we will have that conversation coming up shortly, of course. The phone number, you're going to want to write that down so you can call into the program and ask questions later when we open up our phone lines, is 844-687-7669. Now, you're going to have to excuse me just a little bit because allergy season has started. Usually I don't have this problem until, mid-June. My birthday is June 25th, so usually right around then, I know that's when my allergy is going to start kicking in because that's just the way it's been. And then a little Allegra, and it takes care of the whole thing. But this year, it's starting really, really early. I don't know if everybody's got the same experience around the country, but man, up here in the Northeast, everything just exploded after the weather finally turned nice. And those of us with pollen allergies are really starting to feel it. But anyway, we'll get through. What? Chat room's already making fun of me here. We'll get through it. It doesn't matter. Hey, don't forget to stop by the website, beyondrealityradio.com. We have a coffee mug there. It's the official Beyond Reality Radio coffee mug. It looks great. It's got the neat little alien face logo on it. And it is a perfect vessel to drink your beverages in, whether it's coffee, hot chocolate, tea. I know a lot of people drink tea out of it, or soda. Not pop, soda. We say soda here. Or whatever it happens to be. The Beyond Reality Radio coffee mug is a perfect vessel to use for that. And there's a picture of it right on the website. And you just click on it, and you can order it from there. It includes free domestic shipping. If you're ordering from out of seas or overseas, not out of seas, we will quote you shipping for those overseas orders. All you have to do is contact us. So check that out. And also stop by the Scaricon website. It's just scaricon.com. This is an event that's coming up. If you haven't heard of it yet, I know we talk about it on the program quite a bit. It features a lot of celebrities from your favorite movies. It features panel discussions, a lot of really cool vendors with very, very unique products. It features parties, film screenings, including a couple premieres, films that you will not have seen anywhere else. It's all included in your admission. So check it out at scaricon.com. This year's event is in Framingham, Massachusetts, which is just outside of Boston. And it's June 16th and 17th. It's a great weekend to get away. I think it's Father's Day weekend, or it might be right. I don't know if it's the weekend before. Either way, buy it for Dad. Buy him a couple tickets. Let him go check it out because it's perfect for Dad. It's perfect for Mom. It's perfect for the kids. It is family friendly. There is a children's costume contest as well. I know how kids like to dress up for Halloween. This gives them a chance to do it in June. So that's scaricon.com. Check that out. We've got some great shows coming up during the week as well for you. Tomorrow night, Lori McDonald, who is a clinical hypnotherapist, will join us. She's also an abduction researcher. We're going to be talking about hypnosis and abduction, also regression therapy for abduction victims. This will be a very interesting conversation. And then Thursday night, Terry Lovelace, who's a lawyer and a former assistant attorney general, will be on the program. Terry was an active duty Air Force member after high school. We'll be talking about 2 childhood UFO sightings that Terry experienced at the ages of 8 and 11. And he'll also talk about a bunch of other UFO-related topics, things that he experienced while he was in the Air Force. He's also the author of a book called Incident at Devil's Den, so we'll be talking about that as well. That rounds out the week. Of course, Friday is always a best-of program, and we have a great show that we get to replay for you on Friday nights, so check that out as well. Stop by the Facebook page, give that a like. Stop by my Facebook page, which is just at JVJ Paranormal. Right on Facebook, you can find me there, or just search JV Johnson. That'll show up as well. All the stuff is great. It's good to see everybody in the chat room on the YouTube stream. It's good to see everybody in the chat room on the website. Wherever you are listening, we thank you for doing that. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll bring our guest in. Again, tonight we're talking with Kayla Ambrose. Kayla is a modern muse and a wisdom teacher, and we've got a great conversation coming up in just a few moments on Beyond Reality Radio. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to Beyond Reality Paranormal. I'm your host, JV Johnson. I'm going to ask that you support this program. The easiest way to do that, by the way, is if you're listening as a podcast, you just open up the description of the episode and you scroll down to the bottom. And at the bottom, there is a link that says support this podcast. If you click on that, you'll be taken to a page that gives you a couple of options for supporting the show. We greatly appreciate it. It helps us bring great programs to you every week, and we look forward to continuing to do that. And if you're enjoying the program on YouTube, there's another way you can support the show. Just go to the description. You'll see a link to a Patreon page. It's Johaw, Johaw. And if you go to the Patreon page, you'll be able to pledge an amount to help support the show as well. Once again, thanks for your support. Thank you for listening. Please share it with your friends. Tonight, we've got a great show for you. However, we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of things because our guest has experience with a whole bunch of things. Kayla Ambrose is our guest tonight. She's a modern muse and a wisdom teacher. Her website is exploreyourspirit.com. She's got many, many books to her credit. We're going to be touching base on most of those, including The Awakened Dreamer, The Awakened Psychic, The Awakened Aura, Spirit of New Orleans, Curse of Voodoo Curses, Vampire Legends, and Cities of the Dead, and much, much more. We're going to be talking about all that with her. Kayla, welcome to Beyond Reality Radio. Great to have you on tonight.
Thanks so much for having me. Happy to be here.
So, this is the first time you've been on the program, and I want to learn a little bit more about you before we start talking about your work. So, first of all, tell me what it is to be a modern muse and a wisdom teacher. I know what all those words mean independently, but what does it mean to be to put them all together like that?
Sure. One of my passions in life since I was pretty young was studying the esoteric teachings, the old wisdom teachings that were taught in ancient Greece and Egypt, and I had a passion for them. I would go in the libraries and research it, and then was able to find different teachers of what's called mystery schools and study with them to learn these ancient teachings. And so that's a lot of the esoteric wisdom teachings that I end up teaching now. And that's what my first book is about, the 9 life-altering lessons, Secrets of the Mystery Schools Unveiled. And with my intuitive ability, psychic ability, whatever word people like to use these days, there's a lot of different ways you can use that, and I have used it in a variety of ways, but the one that I love the most is teaching people how to use it for entrepreneur intuition and how to build their business. So a lot of my clients are in Silicon Valley. They are in tech. They're in finance. They're in politics. And I'm a consultant for them, showing them how to use their intuition and using my intuition to see future trends. So when I'm a modern muse, I'm taking those old techniques of intuition and showing people, teaching them, and consulting for others, showing them how to grow their business, grow their career, grow their bottom line, basically using intuition.
And that's really interesting. We're going to talk about that a little more specifically as we continue the conversation. So at what point did all of this attract your attention that you decided to research it, study it, and then teach it?
Well, growing up, as soon as I could really explain it well, I started telling my parents about dreams that I would have that would come true. And my father noticed, too, that I would talk about things or mention things, and he would see it in the paper a day or two later. And I had some dreams that I had no way of knowing anything about, of things that would happen within people they knew and within the family. And I had dreams about past lives as well. I would remember living as a different person and a lot of detail about it. And I grew up in Louisiana, which is fortunate because a lot of people are very open-minded about this type of thing down there. So it wasn't unheard of to talk about it. And it kind of runs in my family, so there were other people I could discuss it with. And one day when I was 12, I woke up and told my mother I'm ready for my formal education now, and I want to learn astrology. And she decided, well, it's a lot of math involved because back in the day there weren't computers for astrology. You really had to calculate them. So she let me study astrology. And the next year I said, I'm ready to study the tarot now and to read this. And it's like I kept pushing my own education. So it's kind of always been with me, and I feel like I came back really with a lot of it and was just like getting an update on it, really. Like, okay, let's see how we do it now. And it's been a passion ever since.
When you say your family, this kind of ran in your family, do you believe that most of these sensitivities are genetically passed on, or is it environmental? How do you think the connection is among families that these things tend to cluster that way?
Well, I've given a talk about that, about the epigenetics of it. I speak a lot, or I have spoken a lot, on conferences with scientists where I appear on panels and talk about it, because I'm really passionate about taking the woo-woo out of this and showing that there are genetic abilities with it, as well as learned abilities. And one of the talks I gave was about epigenetics, that some of the genes within us aren't always turned on when we're born. And when something happens to a person, it can turn on one of these genes. That's basically epigenetics, right? What we talk about there, something that turns that particular gene on. And for a lot of people, you'll see if they've been under a lot of stress, if they've had something really stressful or scary, disturbing happen to them when they're younger, sometimes it will switch that on, that gene. It's a protective gene that I believe we used to use more naturally. When you study with indigenous tribes and groups, you see they've always had it turned on because they used it more to survive in the wild. It was that intuition, it was that ability to sense things, it was that extra sense that was very helpful for survival. And as we became more industrialized, that part was kind of pushed down, it was kind of turned down, turned away from, and a lot of people stopped talking about it because it wasn't encouraged at the time. Sometimes it was because of very stringent religious beliefs that you got in a lot of trouble, or worse if you talked about it. So it was dampened down out of a lot of people. So I think it's actually a gene within all of us. Some of us come back each lifetime maybe with it turned on more or more experience with it, so it's a more active gene. But we all have it, and that's kind of in the Awakened Psychic book. I talk about that, how you can awaken it. You can turn it back on because everyone has intuition. Now, that doesn't mean everyone's super psychic. Like anything, it takes practice. It takes work. Just being born into a family that maybe that gene is already turned on doesn't mean you're going to be great at it either. And it takes practice, and some of it is natural talent or ability you come back with. Just like we might all like to play baseball, and I've played softball, but I'm not going to go into the pros anytime soon, right? So, or with the piano, we can all learn to play a piano, but not everyone, is going to perform at concert level. So, it's a talent and an ability, just like anything else.
I find it interesting that you said that we're kind of taught not to think this way, or it's dampened in us. It's that part of our spirit is kind of either discouraged or completely, pushed aside by modern life. Because a lot of people that we have on the program that have these types of sensitivities, and we talk about it, say the very, very same thing. Is this something that you think society is stuck with, or do you think we're starting to evolve out of that and be more open and receptive to these types of sensitivities and ideas?
I think we have blown the door open and are not turning back now. And I credit a lot of that as well to people like Jason and others who went on TV and had shows where they were willing to talk about these types of things, of mystical experiences, paranormal experiences, and to put themselves on the line in that way and say, there is more than meets the eye. There's more than you may know, and we're going to take a look at this. And I think people have always been interested, but there wasn't a common conversation they could have, and now there is. They're like, did you see that on TV, or did you see that YouTube video, or, they can go on Facebook, wherever, and talk about it. And wherever I go and travel or speak or at a conference, everybody has a story to tell me. Whether they knew something or dreamt about something that happened, whether they've seen a ghost or felt something. It's rare to find someone that hasn't had some kind of experience. If they feel comfortable that you're a safe person to talk about it, they'll open up. I gave a talk once, with this group, there were a lot of doctors in the audience, and it was about seeing auras and what auras can do in the field of medicine. And I've had some doctors endorse that book, The Awakened Aura, and say it's the future of energy medicine and where we're going with the mind-body-spirit connection. And I talk about how you can see energy and things that is not right in the aura before it comes into the physical body, and if we can correct it there, it doesn't have to manifest into a physical illness. And all these doctors lined up afterwards to talk to me and tell me about experiences of their own that they've had and felt and seen, and just didn't have anyone safe really to talk about, these things with. And I talk with a lot of scientists do the same thing, want to do more research, but worry about losing funding because they're still in a very conservative university or something like that. But more and more, it's changing, and the dollars are following with research because of the mind-body-spirit and the connection, starting with meditation and Reiki and things like that. So we are definitely moving more and more into that area.
We're talking with Kayla Ambrose, modern muse and wisdom teacher. Her website is exploreyourspirit.com. Many, many books to her credit. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation. Write down the phone number. It's 844-687-7669. We will take your phone calls later in the program once we open up the lines. It's Beyond Reality Radio. I'm J.V. Johnson. When you listen to this program, you hear many interesting guests who discuss many interesting topics. Most of those guests have books, movies, or other work that support their ideas. And we've made it very easy for you to find that work. Just go to amazon.com/shop/JVJTaps. Not only will you find the books and other work of our guests, but you'll help support this program at the same time. Again, it's amazon.com/shop/JVJTaps. You'll also see links in the description of this episode that you can click on. We can only scratch the surface of many of these topics, and the real knowledge is what you'll find in the pages or frames of our guests' efforts. So click the link and browse, and hey, thanks for listening. Tonight our guest, though, is Kayla Ambrose. She's a modern muse and a wisdom teacher. Website is exploreyourspirit.com. Many books to Kayla's credit. Kayla, I've got to say, our chat room is saying that between your voice and my voice, we've kind of put everybody in a bit of a trance. Kind of these these very soothing voices they're saying in the chat room, and they're kind of like in a meditation place just from hearing us talk.
Oh, well, I have a lot of meditation CDs on my website. I do that as well.
Well, it's no wonder that you do, because the voice is very soothing. I have to make a comment on something you said before the break, too. You were talking about ghost hunters and shows like that on television, kind of moving the discussion of these types of topics from, backroom discussions to dining room table discussions. And it changed things quite a bit. And I find it very, very funny, because you also said you don't think you've met anybody or something about the effect that almost everybody has a story to tell. And one of the things that I found as I got involved with ghost hunters and traveled around the country talking to people about these topics, I found it very interesting that frequently someone would come up to me. Doesn't happen so much anymore because more people are willing to say they believe, but frequently they would come up and they'd say, I don't believe in any of this stuff, but let me tell you what happened when I was 10 years old, right? And then they tell you the story. That's really common, right? I mean, that's not an uncommon story, right?
I think getting to talk to someone who does believe it, that it actually opens something for them and allows them to remember those things or to consider them. I've been on book tour with my latest book, The Awakened Dreamer, and I would have people come up to me and say, I don't remember my dreams, I never dream. And I say, yes, you do. You just don't remember. Here's what you do to remember. And then, the next thing you know, they're emailing me, or they come up the next day at the conference, and they're like, I had a dream last night, and I remembered it for the first time. And it's almost like I'm just reminding them that it's okay. It's okay to remember your dreams. It's okay to get in touch with your intuition. It's okay to have had an experience. And I think the work that we all do, it helps people know that, and it frees the mind then to remember those things or to have new experiences.
You have touched on a lot of things, and almost every time you start to answer a question or discuss one of these ideas, you bring the word intuition into the conversation. Why is that so important?
I think it's as important as breathing or seeing or tasting. It's another part of who we are, and I'm just very passionate about people recognizing that and having it, because it's a gift. It's a gift as much as breathing, though. It's not something rare. And, I say I'm trying to take the woo-woo out of things. I can't take all the woo out. There's too many mysteries that we'll never really understand, but at least the double woo, that it's something weird or odd or something not everyone has. I want it to be as common to people as breathing or thinking or considering something, saying, what is my intuition telling me about this? The same way that you sleep on something or you say, I'm going to think about this for a little while. That intuition is there for you in the same way and available to tell you the things that sometimes you otherwise wouldn't know. And that's important when you're trying to make big decisions in life, that you trust your, with a lot of men that I teach, especially in law enforcement and things like that, I call it a gut feeling instead of intuition, because some people have a block with the word intuition or psychic. So I'm like, trust those gut feelings. Those gut feelings, it's intuition. And that's what they're telling you. You don't know why you don't trust this person or this place, or when you got out of the car late at night and, you just know something's not right before you walk into something, into a room or a place. Your intuition is trying to guide you. And so if you awaken it, you pay attention to it, you start to work with it more, it's not going to lead you wrong. It's going to help you make logical decisions as well.
Kayla, as we get to know you a little bit better before we start talking about some of your books and some of your work specifically, you also talk about being the travel guide to the other side. In that particular statement, do you mean the life after death as the other side, or are we talking about something else?
Well, I do a little bit of astral traveling, teaching people how to explore like that, go into the Akashic records. The other side, anything what you want to talk about on the other side of the veil, that's kind of what I do. Some of my books, like Spirits of New Orleans and Ghost Hunting North Carolina, those books, when people read it, they say they hear my voice in the book because I take you on a journey through the streets of New Orleans, and I show you the haunted places, and I interact with spirits there. I tell you what's going on there, and showing that connection between this earth plane and the other planes, and some that are ghosts and others that are spirits that go back and forth, and share those stories with people. When I consult with people, I help them if they want to tap into their Akashic records or remote view or astral travel, or so it just depends on the person and where they're looking to go. But I'm a guide because I think the time has passed where we say teacher or guru or any of those things, because I believe people already have this wisdom within them. And so I'm just trying to help them remember who they are and why they're here and the possibilities that are available to them. So rather than saying, hey, let me just tell you about it, I'd rather be a guide and show you and let you experience it for yourself.
And do you consider that, obviously, the way you've defined it, it is definitely different than just being a medium, but is mediumship part of all of that?
Yes, though I say I'm a reluctant medium. It's not, I'm more inspired trying to help people that are here on the earth plane, trying to get things done and live their best life, whatever that is. But when I'm doing that, there are times when those from the other side want to come in and add their 2 cents, and I am open to that. And obviously, what some of my books are about those experiences, communicating with them, like Spirits of New Orleans, and where I communicated with different ghosts and spirits like that. So I do, but it's not what I set out to do on a daily basis. You
also have written about ghost hunting, and we'll talk about your book, Ghost Hunting in North Carolina, in just a little bit. But do you do a lot of ghost hunting, that type of paranormal investigation as well?
I had a group for a while where we did, and I've had some interesting experiences I read about in both of those books. And Ghost Hunting North Carolina, I went with a group where we went to what's supposed to be the most haunted capital in the world, which is in North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina, and got to spend the night in the haunted capital and had quite a few interesting experiences that set off the alarms, even though they had turned the alarms off and security had confirmed everything. And I was there in the library looking around and saw an apparition in the corner, and the alarms were going off around me, and every security and everyone came running saying this can't be happening. The alarms are all turned off. There's no way. But it activated everything, and I was able to describe the apparition that I saw with the historian there who was able to identify through my description and show me a picture of who it was, so we were able to identify it. And yeah, I've done some interesting things like that, and mainly when people call me in and are looking to, for assistance, things like that.
Let's talk a little bit about that book, Ghost Hunting North Carolina. Is it a chronicling of experiences you've had, or is it a chronicling of stories that you uncovered around the state, or is it a combination?
Well, this particular publisher had criteria of how they wanted these books written. It's part of what's called America's Haunted Road Trip, and I wrote 2 books for them, Ghost Hunting North Carolina and Spirits of New Orleans. And they do a book on each state and then cities that are considered very haunted. And their criteria is that they want people to investigate why these areas are haunted. And you have to keep it to public places so that people can pick up the books and go to these places themselves. So every one written in the book is a place that you can use as a travel guide and go yourself. Take your kids if you want, take your friends, and go investigate yourself. And so that's their criteria, that people can go be ghost hunters as well. So in this case, that's what I did. I started out by deciding which of the 25 most haunted places in North Carolina I was going to investigate, and then I spent about a year in research, interviewing all types of people that were associated with that place, or sometimes it was a ship, a building, an old plantation, wherever, and getting all those stories from law enforcement, from people that had grown up in those areas all their lives, people that had had experiences, gaining all their information. And then I would visit each location and open up and see what I would experience as well. So I'm very forthcoming in the book. If I didn't experience anything, I tell you that. I'm like, the particular day or evening I was there, I didn't, but here's all the people that did, and here's the story behind it. In other situations where I had confirmed, okay, I'm sometimes speaking with one or more ghosts, and other times where things are happening, paranormal activity, I documented all that as well, what I saw, what I felt, and in some cases I had conversations with some of the spirits, and in other times it was just things moving around and paranormal energy like that. So both of those books are part of, I guess, what you'd call my travel guide to the other side, where I'm sharing that. One all about New Orleans and one about all of North Carolina. Yeah,
I'm excited to talk about the one about New Orleans as well. That's a really fascinating city with a lot of interesting phenomena. We're going to take a break right now. We're talking with Kayla Ambrose, modern muse and wisdom teacher. Check out her website at exploreyourspirit.com. You'll see the books that she's written there, and as well as a bunch of other information. We're going to continue our conversation with Kayla on the other side of the break. It's Beyond Reality Radio. The phone number is 844-687-7669. We will be opening up the phone lines in the next hour. Don't go away. When you listen to this program, you hear many interesting guests who discuss many interesting topics. Most of those guests have books, movies, or other work that support their ideas, and we've made it very easy for you to find that work. Just go to amazon.com/shop/JVJ-Taps. Not only will you find the books and other work of our guests, but you'll help support this program at the same time. Again, it's amazon.com/shop/JVJ-Taps. You'll also see links in the description of this episode that you can click on. We can only scratch the surface of many of these topics, and the real knowledge is what you'll find in the pages or frames of our guests' efforts. So click the link and browse, and hey, thanks for listening. Jason's off tonight. We've got Kayla Ambrose with us as our guest. Don't forget, tomorrow night we are going to have a great discussion with Lori McDonald, who's a clinical hypnotherapist. She's also an abduction researcher, and a lot of folks who undergo or become the victims of abductions use hypnotherapy to try to deal with that. And we'll have that conversation with Lori McDonald tomorrow night. Thursday night, Terry Lovelace, who is a lawyer and a former assistant attorney general, was also in the active duty for the Air Force. We'll be discussing UFOs and his 2 childhood UFO sightings and many other UFO-related topics that he experienced during his time in the Air Force. So that promises to be a very, very interesting discussion. But as we continue our talk tonight, don't forget to stop by Kayla's website at exploreyourspirit.com. Kayla, I noticed that several of your books have the word awakened in the title, like The Awakened Dreamer, The Awakened Psychic, The Awakened Aura. What is the connection with those books where the awakening occurs? How does that word play an important part in what the book's about?
It started with my first book, The Awakened Aura, and I've seen auras around people and animals and places my whole life, and started keeping journals about them when I was young. And so I've taught about auras and read for auras all over the place. And John Edwards used to have an online TV program that he did too, the Infinite Quest, and I was on his show for a year or so reading auras on there. I think it's real important for people to learn to see auras and to read them, so I teach it all over. And what happened is about 15 years ago, I guess it is now, I started seeing everyone's aura change. And there's cords that come through the aura. When you connect with someone, an energy cord comes from you and connects with that person. And we've always used this language. We call it the family ties that bind, or cutting the cord. Breaking up with someone, we're breaking a cord. And the Hunas taught about this in Hawaii. All the ancient cultures teach about the energy cords. And so I've always seen these cords and how they connect with people. And it's part of what I do with astral travel as well, following those cords. But what I saw about 15 years ago, where the cords were changing around people and growing and getting bigger, and there was a cord coming out of the solar plexus that seemed to be releasing a lot of toxic old energy, and there was an energy grid of cords building around each person's body, their energy body. And as I watched it over time and worked with more clients, I began to see that it was almost creating like a ship, for want of a better word, a grid around us. And I realized that's how we're making this transition from third dimension into fourth dimension and fifth dimension, is there's an energy grid literally being built around each of us with a lot of crystalline type energy in the structure and light, and it kind of holds the grid together for each person as we make this evolution. So when I approached, this is a different publisher, this is Llewellyn, and when I approached them about writing this book, The Aura, I said I want to talk about, there's plenty of aura books out there, I want to talk about what's changing in the aura and how it's going to change everyone's life and what it's going to do for you energetically with this new grid. And I want to explain, what does it mean, these energy cords? What does it mean when you're intimate with someone else? What does it mean when you spend a lot of time with someone? How do these cords connect and stay, and how are they evolving as well? So we worked on the title and came up with Awakened because it's a new conscious awareness of this energy and the cords and the grids. And that tends to be what I do when I teach, is awaken people to the possibilities, to the realities, to the potential, to their passion, to their purpose. So we kind of talked about it, and the publisher said, why don't we start doing a series of these? And so that's how it's continued on into The Awakened Psychic and The Awakened Dreamer, the new one.
We've got about a minute here before we have to go to our top of the hour break. And since you have so many books, if you were talking to a reader who was just being introduced to you tonight, where would you suggest they start with your books? Which one?
The Awakened Aura.
That's the best place to start.
Well, if you can start seeing auras, it's going to open up your intuition, it's going to open up your abilities, and the other books build on that. So if you start with that one, whether you want to start seeing ghosts, whether you want to open your intuition, whether you just want to know more about people, whether you want to understand the levels around you of your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies, you want to tap into the Akashic records, you want to see what's going on the other side, working with the aura, will do that. And I've taught people all over the country in weekend workshops where they walk away after 2 days seeing the aura. And taught people in the United Nations that wanted to see the aura because they were speaking with people who speak different languages and they're waiting for the translation. But when you see the aura, you see the intention, you feel the energy of the person. So if you want to do any of this type of ability, it's a great place to start.
Tomorrow night's program, we'll be talking to a clinical hypnotherapist and an abduction researcher, how those two worlds come together. Lori McDonald will be our guest. A lot of people who are victims of abduction have go to the hypnotherapist to get therapy to try to deal with it. And we'll talk to Lori about that because she does that. Also, Thursday night, Terry Lovelace, who is a lawyer and a former assistant attorney general, will be with us talking about his time working in the Air Force as an active duty member of the Air Force and the UFO experiences he had there, plus a couple of experiences he had as a kid. He's also author of a book called Incident at Devil's Den. That is Thursday night's program. Of course, every Friday, we have a best of on Beyond Reality Radio, which gives you an opportunity to hear one of the best interviews of the week replayed. And then we'll be back with live shows next week. So it's great to have everybody along. Stop by the website at beyondrealityradio.com and check out the Beyond Reality Radio official coffee mug, which is available there and only there. You can grab one for yourself. It works great, looks great. Tastes great when you're drinking out of it. Also, stop by Scaricon.com and check out that event that's coming up in Framingham, Massachusetts, June 16th and 17th. It is a great time. A lot of celebrities, a lot of panel discussions, film premieres, parties, vendors, socializing. It is a fantastic time. I will be there. Many people will be there. It's going to be a great time. Again, Scaricon.com is the place to go to check that out. We'll be back in just a moment. We're going to go to break now. When we come back, we'll have Kayla Ambrose back with us. It's Beyond Reality Radio. Did you know that online retailers like Amazon have constant deals that can save you money on the things you buy every day? It's no joke. Save 40%, 50%, even 80% on great products. And all you have to do is know about them. Noodle Shark is the way to be alerted when something good is coming your way. Noodle Shark is the social media page that lists great deals that not only save you money, but give you the deals before anyone else has them. All you have to do is find Noodle Shark on Facebook. Search it as The Noodle Shark. That's The Noodle Shark, because you deserve to save too. Become a shark and save. Hey everybody, thanks for listening to Beyond Reality Paranormal. I'm your host, J.V. Johnson. I'm going to ask that you support this program. The easiest way to do that, by the way, is if you're listening as a podcast, you just open up the description of the episode and you scroll down to the bottom. And at the bottom, there is a link that says support this podcast. If you click on that, you'll be taken to a page that gives you a couple of options for supporting the show. We greatly appreciate it. It helps us bring great programs to you every week, and we look forward to continuing to do that. And if you're enjoying the program on YouTube, there's another way you can support the show. Just go to the description. You'll see a link to a Patreon page. It's Johaw, J-O-H-A-W. And if you go to the Patreon page, you'll be able to pledge an amount to help support the show as well. Once again, thanks for your support. Thank you for listening. Please share it with your friends. Kayla, again, thanks for being here with us. We really appreciate it. Let's talk about New Orleans a little bit. You wrote about New Orleans. You have a book that covers a lot of things, specifically because New Orleans has a lot of things, right? It's called Spirits of New Orleans, Voodoo, Curses, Vampire Legends, and Cities of the Dead. First of all, what is it about New Orleans that makes it such a spiritual place?
Well, I'm probably biased because I grew up in Louisiana, so I love it. But there are certain things that lend a place to hold energy better, and water, it really is important with that. And that's why when you read so many great ghost stories, they're always around ports, and areas with water. New Orleans, you've got this, it's the Crescent City, and you've got Lake Pontchartrain, you've got the Mississippi River, and you've got the Gulf of Mexico. And so it's all kind of cradling all that water, holding it in. And then you add that it's got such a long history here, with being owned by the French and the Spanish and back and forth before it became part of America. So you have a lot of different people and a lot of different religious beliefs and spiritual beliefs and rituals that were done there by them. And the water kind of holds all that in, and people come there. And I know I love to write there. I go there to write a lot because it just awakens your creative energy, and you feel alive. There's a definite spirit as well as spirits of New Orleans for sure.
And when you write about, as it relates to New Orleans, Voodoo, Curses, Vampire Legends, and Cities of the Dead, what are some of the stories or things that you learned as you were researching for the book that really struck out to you as being quite remarkable?
Well, the voodoo curses, of course, I explore Marie Laveau, not just her tomb, but the stories about her. And one of the voodoo curses that she's known the most for, where she was asked to help someone who was wrongly accused, and did a ritual that involved putting hot peppers in her mouth and really suffering and walking all the way to St. Louis Cathedral and doing this intense ritual where she then suffered in her way, believing that added the energy needed to activate the ritual, and then putting these hot peppers under the judge's chair, which would open his eyes and make him see the truth about the court case that was going on. So I share some really interesting stories about voodoo there, as well as kind of adding some stories with voodoo that they're not all curses either. And certainly there have been a share of curses, but there's a lot more to the spirituality of voodoo. And the Vampire Legends is this great story about the casket girls that are supposedly how the first vampires ever came to the U.S., and that these casket girls were brought over from France, and they stayed at a finishing school to be married off, basically, and to encourage to get more women to settle. At the time in Louisiana, it wasn't a really fun place to settle. It was covered in mosquitoes, very swampy. They would reach out to these nice families and say, we're going to give the girls all these things to get them married to these wonderful men, and they would send them these trunks to pack everything in, and they look like caskets, and the girls would pack everything and bring it with them. But there's a story of how one ship arrived late at night, and the girls could only be off the ship after sunset. And they asked that their caskets go up to the third floor and not be disturbed. And there's a story of one of the nuns who went up there to check, and she opened the caskets, and they were all empty. And she opened it in the middle of the night. And she looked around and saw dirt in all the caskets and realized that there was something going on. So she nailed the caskets shut, trying to figure it out. And when she went to check the next day, the nails had all been undone, and she couldn't open any of them. They had been sealed from the inside. And so she came and she requested that all the windows be nailed shut. And the next day when she went to check, somehow through that night, every nail and every screw had been undone so the windows could be opened. And the story goes into how it was believed that were the first vampires that came to the U.S. and traveled with a specific group of casket girls from France and made their way over here. And the cities, I know it's so many books, I'm trying to give you just little bite-sized pieces of every one, but the cities of the dead are the cemeteries in New Orleans that are above ground because of the way the water works there. You really can't bury underground. Caskets they tried, and the caskets would float up during a storm and then float down the streets. So they build up, and they put them in these beautiful buildings that each family creates, and the caskets go up higher, and they look like little cities that are referred to as the cities of the dead. And so I wanted to touch on all those stories and so many more. I say that seeing a ghost in New Orleans is like having a bowl of gumbo. The question's not when, but where do you really want to savor it? Where do you want to see a ghost? Because you really can't go most anywhere in the historic parts of the city and not have some kind of ghostly encounter. So I share interactions. I had meeting ghosts and spirits on the streetcars and buildings, not so much in the cemeteries, really. It's more in the places where people are, and some of the most haunted streets to walk down to see a ghost, and just taking you as a trip. And then I take you a step further, though, because I love New Orleans. I go every chance I get, and at the end of every chapter, I give you travel tips, like, hey, here's a good bar to go drink at, not just to see a ghost, but, to get a really good drink. Here's a great hotel to stay at. Here's a good place to go shop. It's a whole experience to all the sight, sounds, paranormal and otherwise, of New Orleans.
Let's try to get a listener call or two in. Let's see. This is David calling in from Missouri. Hey, David, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you very much. I'm quite fascinated by the guest tonight. We used to live in the Hammond area, little north of New Orleans, and I can certainly appreciate a lot of what she's saying. And one of my question and my thought is I've had a recurring dream over the years, and it comes up like maybe once a year or something like that, and it goes all the way back to Druidic times, and it's a constant black shrouded figure with Celtic arches in the background, and it's as if this figure is reaching out to me over time. And then I've had several psychics that I've known through the years who told me that that I'm an old soul, that they can see in my eyes, they can tell by my aura that I'm an old soul. And one time when we were down in New Orleans, I stopped by Madame Laveau's shop. I think you probably know who she is there.
Yeah.
And one of the ladies there, she knew immediately that I was an old soul, and she just, I don't know, was kind of fascinated. And so we had a bit of a chat. So I'm just kind of curious. I don't quite know what to make of it. And it's probably been going on 30 years or more. And it's just this figure, this constant kind of dream, and the psychics tell me that person from that time long ago is trying to reach out to me today. And whatever it is they're trying to say or to do, I guess the time is not right. So I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts on that are.
Sure. I work with a lot of people that have recurring dreams, and I write about that in the Awakened Dreamer book. I say there's 4 different types of dreams. There's prophetic dreams, there's recurring dreams, there's daily life dreams, different ways that our consciousness, our subconscious, and our higher conscious self work things out. When we have a recurring dream, that's our intuition, our psychic ability being activated. It's connecting with the higher self. I teach about this in the Wisdom School, that part of your soul, your higher self, that part of your soul, stays up in the higher realms. It's like a pyramid turned upside down. And so most of your consciousness stays up there in the higher realms. And if you picture a pyramid coming down, the tip of the pyramid actually comes into your aura and then through the top of your head, and a little bit of your soul is deposited inside your body in each lifetime. And then when you die, it attaches back to the cords and it rolls back up, taking all the memories of each lifetime. And those are stored in the higher self and in the Akashic records. When we come back for each lifetime, we activate certain things that I call karmic imprints and markers in our aura. And those attract certain people and certain situations to us, and they cause us to have some things that we call dreams as well. And these are things we're supposed to remember, explore, revisit. It's why certain people are drawn to us, why we meet and marry certain people, and all of those things, because those karmic markers are attracting those people from other lifetimes back into our life. With your recurring dream, there's a good chance that the figure that you're dreaming about is either A, actually you from that lifetime, or B, someone that you had a strong experience with, and there's a need to connect with that more to finish it. So to explore the Druid energy, the Druid teachings, to maybe go back if you wanted to go to Europe and to see if that awakens it for you. But the reason usually you have a recurring dream like that is the higher self is trying to get your attention about it and get you to explore that further. So there's something you need to connect with, and I find that the dream is just step one, and the other answers don't come in the dream. You have to take action. So whether you start doing Druid work, studying, with a Druid priest, or going to one of those areas, do something to further awaken your consciousness, and it'll lead you on the journey.
But at first I was startled and kind of scared about it, but over the years, I'm not fearful of it, and it's kind of an apparition that one might think that you would be afraid of, but I'm really not. It's as if I'm feeling and sensing, as other psychics have told me, that they're trying to tell me something or teach me something. So I'm not fearful. Is that okay, not being fearful about it?
Absolutely. In all of my books, and I have a school online, the Academy of Mystical Arts and Spiritual Sciences. So if you're not a reader, I have the online school that teaches you online how to do these things. But in all my books I give a protection that you do. It's a white light protection to put around you, and that you ask that only the highest and best of anything can come around you if you want to protect yourself. And after you do that, I suggest in the Dreamer book that you then, after you say that and put the protection around you, you say out loud, I want to know more what this dream means. If you're a Druid and you're trying to send a message to me, I need it more clearly, or I need you to show me a sign when I'm awake. I'm ready to hear more of what you have to say. And when most people do that and activate it, it really helps, and their dreams become more profound. They get more information, or they wake up the next day, someone says, hey, did you see this druid thing that's going on, or a book appears to them about something with that. Something, some connection, some way, they will find a way to get the information to you. But I really do feel it's a past life and that you're supposed to explore it further.
Well, great. I appreciate it very much. Thank you so much.
David, thank you so much for the call. It's a very good question, a very great discussion. We've got about a minute left before we have to jump into break again. Kayla, I've given your website out a few times, but tell us where people can go. I know the website. Any other place they can go to find out more information about your books and your work?
All the books are on Amazon, and I'm on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, you name it. And I have a YouTube channel as well. If you just put in my name, Kayla Ambrose, you can see videos. I have free videos there where you can watch how the aura works, and I teach you how sound activates the aura, how you can use crystals and energy wands with the aura, different videos like that teach you some basic things, and that's all on my YouTube channel. But all of that, whether you want to get to the books or my online school, everything's on exploreyourspirit.com, and you can go from there to all the social media and everywhere else.
Tonight we're talking with Kayla Ambrose. Her website is exploreyourspirit.com. She's got many books to her credit, including the Awakened series, which includes The Awakened Dreamer, The Awakened Psychic, and The Awakened Aura. Also, Spirits of New Orleans, Voodoo Curses, Vampire Legends, and Cities of the Dead, Ghost Hunting North Carolina, and Life-Altering Lessons, Secrets of the Mystery Schools Unveiled. And I want to ask you about that, and we'll get to your phone calls in just a moment here, but Kayla, I want to ask you about that book, Life-Altering Lessons, Secrets of the Mystery Schools Unveiled. During your initial discussion when we started talking tonight, you mentioned these mystery schools, but can you detail or give us a better idea of what these schools are and what type of secrets you're talking about in that book?
Well, if you look back to ancient Egypt or ancient Greece, you'll see the remnants of them, the pyramids, the temples where these were taught at that time, and they existed before then as well. They've been in many different cultures, and you'll see the remnants in India and all throughout eastern parts of the world where you see these teachings. And while they were taught different for each culture to understand in some ways, they're what are called universal truths, meaning that they kind of transcend time and space, and they're all always there for us to learn. And these are carried on. And so in this book, I wrote about 9 of them, 9 life-altering lessons, which are the beginning stages of what you begin to study in these type of mystery schools. And when you do, you go through the stages from a neophyte, which one who is new and learning, into an initiate, which is one who initiates, who takes action, who takes the knowledge and then puts it into action, which then becomes wisdom. I don't think you can really be wise unless you've had experiences to learn from. It's not enough just to study a book, then you have to take action and do it. And so these 9 lessons kind of start you off on that path. And I had a mystery school for years that I ran, and my students would beg me. They would say, not everyone can come study with you directly like this. Will you write this book for people that, want to know? And so I did, and it was funny at first because a lot of I would be on a book tour speaking about it, and a lot of Masons and others would come to these book signings, not happily, but are you giving out the secrets of the ancient ways? And I'm like, well, I guess so, because I'm here doing this again. I've had past lives doing this where I taught in these temples, learned in these temples, and they're meant to be shared. I think we're in a new evolution in time where it's meant for everyone to learn these things and not to be hidden in the old temples like they used to be. So I make each person who reads the book, I take them on this journey and make them ask themselves these questions. Who am I and why am I here? And then we delve into that, going not who are you? Are you a man? Are you a father, a husband, a brother, an uncle? Who are you at the soul level? What's your point of being here? What did you come back here to do? What does it mean? What is your purpose? And I get really deep with students who want to study these things and take them through the rituals and the teachings like the old mystery schools did. And so you start to transcend what you identify yourself as culture or society or what your parents told you or school told you. This is the deep work I do with students who really want to go to this type of esoteric level, where we really look into your soul and say, why are you here this lifetime? What do you want to do? And who are you? Where you then recognize that within yourself and within others that you meet. So you're not just looking at them as the physical or their resume or what they say they do for a living. You say, I see you. I see you as a soul. I see you as a person. And now that I know you and you know me, we can have a conversation that goes much deeper.
All right, let's jump to our phone lines here. This is Vince in Missouri. Hey, Vince, welcome to the program.
How you doing, JB?
Great, thank you. Thanks for calling.
I'd like to take your caller back to the start of the show, kind of, when she was talking about intuition and how you trust a gut feeling. The body has like 11 different systems that work, together but separately. And the reason you trust a gut feeling is because your gut has never learned to doubt itself, just like the other systems in the body that give you signs like the respiratory, the circulatory, digestive, nervous, and etc. I wonder what her thought is on that. The brain has learned to doubt itself, but your stomach and your digestive system has not, nor have the others.
Yeah, great question, Vince. What do you think, Kayla?
I delve into that in my Awakened Psychic book because, first of all, when I talk about the aura, I talk about how all the information you get that you call a thought actually comes from outside of you, from your higher self, and then goes in through your aura, into your body, and then the last place it goes is through the brain, where then it can say it out loud or act on it. So we think it comes from the brain, but it's really coming from a higher source. And I talk about how cartoons describe that, seeing the light bulb above a person's head. Your thoughts actually come from your higher consciousness. And then second, I get into the science of psychic ability and intuition, and what science is beginning to show now, that there is a brain-type experience in the stomach, in the solar plexus, in the gut, and that we actually receive the information first through, after the aura, into the solar plexus and into the stomach area, and we absorb that information first, and that's why people will say, I feel sick at my stomach, or it was like a punch in the gut. We feel emotions and thoughts first in a little brain that science is now calling a second brain in the body through the stomach and the gut. And then that information radiates throughout the body, and the last place it goes is into the brain and the head, where we then speak it out loud. So I agree with your caller, absolutely.
Thanks for the call, Vince. Let's take a call now from Gina in Florida. Hi, Gina. Welcome to the program.
Oh, hello. Thank you for taking my call. Hi, Kayla.
Hi, Gina.
Yes, Kayla, I was wondering if you could give any suggestion as to how to best handle or learn more about one of your relatives that is just never on the proverbial same page and is confrontational and egotistic maybe, and highly successful and intelligent, above average. So it makes it difficult to communicate with a person of that caliber. And I was wondering, how can I best understand them? Maybe a past life reading, or which of your books do you recommend, getting into first to try to get to the bottom of that, please?
Sure. Well, I recommend the Awakened Aura first, because you get to read the energy levels and you can see what's going on with that person, whether they're being an ego, whether they're angry, whether there's more going on with them that you can see, because every person has a story, and we're all going through things here, and it helps you have more understanding and compassion and empathy for what they're not saying out loud to you. But second, I give a great exercise in the Awakened Psychic where I talk about dealing with people, whether they're difficult and we can't talk it out with them, or they're people we don't get to see again and we can't have that conversation. And I show you how to connect with your higher self, and you do an exercise where your higher self goes and talks to that person's higher self. And the higher self, like I said, is a higher consciousness, stays more on the other side. So you go have a conversation with this person like you're talking about, but you picture their higher self, and you say, hi, this person's higher self, I really want to understand more, and I want you to understand more about me. And you talk like you're talking to them, but you're not. You're speaking with your good intentions from your higher self to their higher self. And if you do that several times, that information will filter from their higher self down into their consciousness. And many people that I teach this show that they have the people that they've been trying to reach have a change of heart, have a change of thought about things, feel more comfortable around them, want to open up. It's a way to do it at a higher, more loving vibration to get that information across when the person in the earth plane, in the physical, can't or is not ready to receive that information. So I describe the exercise in the psychic book, and a lot of people find it really works. It's part of my daily practice that at night I think about whatever I've done through the day, and if I've said something I thought was harmful, I resolve to apologize to that person the next day or make things right. If it's someone that I can't and isn't willing to receive it or I won't see again, that's what I do. I go talk to their higher self, tell them I'm sorry, say I want to work things out, I wish them the best, and it just feels good too.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for that.
Gina,
Sure.
Gina, thank you so much for the call, Gina. We appreciate your input and your question. We're going to run out of time pretty quickly here, Kayla. I want to ask you, because you've referenced your school a couple of times. You have an online school. Tell us about it.
Yes, it's also on exploreyourspirit.com, and everything that I write about and teach, I have schools with it. There's Aura School and Psychic School and Dream School, and there's a year of wisdom teachings that you can take. Each month it's a different course where you learn about all types of things, astral travel, how to work with crystals and gemstones, all the type of metaphysical things. I have Akashic Record teachings on there. I have the 9 life-altering lessons course, and they're videos so that you can watch them at the time that's right for you, and there's little PDF booklets that come with them that give you homework and exercises to try, and you get the book with it. So it's a great way if you're more of a person that learns more from listening, or if you like my voice and you'd rather hear me and see me on video than just reading my book. It's just a different way to get the information. And of course, in these courses, I can give a lot more information and answer a lot and go into more depth. So it's a great way to cover it that way. And I'm happy to come back on the show anytime to talk about any of these topics in more depth at any time you like, JV.
Great. Well, we will definitely have you back. I've got another couple minutes with you, and I would want to ask you one more question, something that we kind of glossed over in the beginning of the discussion and didn't get a chance to get back to until now. You've worked with entrepreneurs and visionaries. You said you have clients in Silicon Valley. You've got politicians that are clients. And does your guidance and your help with them help them focus on what they're trying to achieve, or how do you help them?
It does. It awakens their intuition and shows them how to hone more in on that, how best to build their career or deliver their message and what they're doing. And then the second thing is I've always seen future trends. And back in 2010, I think I was in New York and Manhattan, and I was speaking at the Learning Index, and they asked me if I would take part in a book they were writing saying, what's going to happen 2012 and the decade beyond. So I wrote a lot of predictions about future trends. So I'll work with companies, too, to say, okay, this is the product you're building right now, but in 5 years, it's going to be obsolete. Here's what's coming in the future. So I'll help them with direction on things like that so that their company is always building forward. And, I started a podcast show of my own back in 2006 when people were like, what's a podcast? And I had to go explain to people and publishers that I wanted to have on the show. I had to go teach them what a podcast was. I've always seen future trends and where things are going like that. So sometimes I help with that too, just, where trends are going.
Well, that's great. Again, thanks for being on the program. Do you have anything else coming up that you want to let people know about? Any appearances or working on another book or anything on the horizon?
I'm working on book 7 right now, and it'll be talking about the afterlife and exploring more into that, and always teaching new courses. And check my website for events and things. I teach at Edgar Casey's ARE, and I've taught at Lilydale and Omega, and teach at conferences around the country. So best way is to sign up for my newsletter there if you're interested. That's where I release new classes, new books, and places that I'm teaching around the country.
Terrific. Again, the website is exploreyourspirit.com. It seems like that's the best place to go to get information. Your books are there. They're also on Amazon. Kayla, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.
All right, it's Beyond Reality Radio. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap things up. You know, when you listen to this program, you hear many interesting guests who discuss many interesting topics. Most of those guests have books, movies, or other work that support their ideas. And we've made it very easy for you to find that work. Just go to amazon.com/shop/JVJ-Taps. Not only will you find the books and other work of our guests, but you'll help support this program at the same time. Again, it's amazon.com/shop/JVJ-Taps. You'll also see links in the description of this episode that you can click on. We can only scratch the surface of many of these topics, and the real knowledge is what you'll find in the pages or frames of our guests' efforts. So click the link and browse, and hey, thanks for listening. Welcome back. It's J.V. Johnson. Jason's not with us tonight. If you've been listening to the show, you know that. He'll be back with us tomorrow night, though. And we've got a great show coming up tomorrow. We've got great shows the rest of the week. Tomorrow night, Lori McDonald will be with us. She's a clinical hypnotherapist, and she's also an abduction researcher. And she works with a lot of people who have had abduction experiences and uses that hypnotherapy to try to help them with that. We'll talk about all of that with her tomorrow night. Then Thursday, Terry Lovelace, who is a lawyer, a former assistant attorney general, also an active duty member, or was an active duty member of the Air Force, will talk about his 2 childhood UFO sightings. And then also many other experiences he had during his time in the Air Force as they relate to UFOs. That'll be an interesting discussion. He's also the author of a book called Incident at Devil's Den. That's Thursday night's program, and of course, Friday is always a best of. A couple things I want you to do between now and tomorrow night is stop by the website for Beyond Reality Radio. Check out the coffee mug that's there. Also, check out our list of affiliate stations in case you're traveling or you want to know if there's a station in your area that's carrying the program. It's always nice to listen to it right on the radio. There's also the chat room. You can download the apps for your smartphone from the website, or you can just do it on your app store on the phone. Either way, that's great. And then also go to Scaricon.com and check out what's coming up for Scaricon. There's a lot of great stuff, a lot of great celebrities, including Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. She's somebody that I've met a few times, and I've been trying to get her to come to a Scaricon, and we finally were able to make it work this time. She's a great lady, really, really sweetheart, and she'll be at Scaricon New England June 16th and 17th in Framingham, Massachusetts. Also, Dee Snider, and I think we're going to get Dee on this program to do an interview prior to Scaricon. We're still working on that, but I think he's going to come on and do that. That'll be a lot of fun. I know I wanted to get Elvira on too, but her schedule's just really, really crazy. But either way, we've got a lot of great stuff coming up for Scaricon. Check it all out at Scaricon.com. You'll get all the information you need there. Yeah, Dee Snider from Twisted Sister, also did a bunch of acting, including Strangeland, and if you know Adam Green's TV series, there were 2 seasons on FearNet called Holliston. Dee Snider was in that. He's great. He's great in that television show. You might want to check that out. Okay, so we're going to go now, and don't forget tomorrow night, great program lined up. A lot of great stuff coming your way. It's Beyond Reality Radio. I'm J.V. Johnson. Thanks so much for being here.
Beyond Reality Paranormal is hosted by J.V. Johnson and produced by Orion Palmer and Slick Eddie Edwards. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please consider supporting the program either through your podcast platform, click on the link in the description, or on Patreon at Joha Productions. If you'd like to be a guest on Beyond Reality Paranormal, or you have a recommendation for a guest, contact our producer, Slick Eddie Edwards. Eddie is spelled with a Y at slickeddieedwards@gmail.com.